To close out this wonderful and magical Christmas for all of you, I have a story from the Daily Caller. Here are the most egregious fake news stories of 2018. We're going to read through this list as a countdown for this wonderful year. Don't worry. I will still be producing videos every day, nonstop, even New Year's Day, even New Year's Eve. I will have content for you. But today, for Christmas, we're going to recap the fake news of 2018. As 2018 comes to a close, it's time to review the year's worst cases of media misquotes, misleading narratives, major corrections, and straight up fake news. Maybe I can even add some to the story once we get through it. While last year's fake reporting largely occurred during the media's relentless pursuit to prove Russian collusion, this year's list is much more varied. However, some themes emerged. Stories about then Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh and the U.S. border were routinely flagged for misinformation. Without further ado, here is the list of 2018's worst examples of fake news, and a shout out to Amber Athey, the media and breaking news editor who wrote this. WAPO, Washington Post, blames Border Patrol for death of 7-year-old migrant. This was a big one, just happened. The Washington Post published a story in December focusing on a 7-year-old migrant child from Guatemala who died in Border Patrol custody. Despite WAPO's misleading headline suggesting Border Patrol was to blame for the girl's death, the full timeline of events and statements from the girl's father praising border agents revealed a different story. Quick breakdown. Basically what happened is, little girl crosses the border with her dad. She's dehydrated and she's septic. I mean, she's got a blood infection. When they brought them in, the dad signed a form saying that they were both healthy. But within about an hour and a half, the girl started vomiting and seizing, and they immediately rushed her to a hospital. They got an air ambulance for her. And it is absolutely disgusting. These border agents did everything right and everything in their power to save a little girl. In any other circumstance, they'd be a hero. But because the narrative has to smear Border Patrol and ICE all the time, they made it seem like the girl died because of Border Patrol. And that disgusts me. It really does, you know. CNN and The Hill spread retracted assault claim against Kavanaugh. CNN and The Hill both reported on a sexual assault claim against Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh in late September without ever mentioning the claim had been quickly retracted. Jeffrey Catalin apologized for making a mistake in leveling the false claim against Kavanaugh, but CNN and The Hill's initial reports on the claim failed to note the retraction. The Hill later retracted a tweet bolstering the claim, and CNN updated its misleading report. I believe this particular story was about a man who claimed that for some reason, Kavanaugh was in a Rhode Island on a boat and assaulted his friend, and his friend told this guy, and then he called in the false report. I do believe this man is actually under investigation for committing a crime having done so. And yes, you're going to have to explain to me why a random dude making a random phone call warrants definitive fact. How does most of the accusations against Kavanaugh were proven to have been made up. I kid you not. I think it's like 4 are considered to have been retracted. A couple of them were outright entire falsehoods. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They were all to a certain degree fake, right? Yeah. Boston Globe corrects Liz Warren's story, makes her less Native American. Oh, Elizabeth Warren. This is great. Democratic Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren released a DNA test in October seeking to prove her repeated claims she's Native American. The Boston Globe initially reported on the DNA test by explaining that Warren was somewhere between 132 and 1512 Native American. However, the paper eventually issued 2 corrections that damaged Warren's ancestral claims even further. The generational range based on the ancestor that the report identified suggests she's between 164th and 1024th Native American, the Globe admitted. I could be wrong. I did meet the woman who wrote this, and I believe what happened was, and again, I could be misremembering this, was that when she was reporting on this, she was told 132, 1512, and went with it, and then later realized, based on the actual math, it was wrong by double, basically. And so she corrected it. So I don't know. That's less of an important one. I don't know. Let's see what else we got in the fake news list. New York Times accuses Nikki Haley of purchasing expensive curtains. What? The New York Times initially tied U.S. Ambassador to the UN Nikki Haley to expensive curtains hanging in the ambassador's apartment in New York, writing, Nikki Haley's view of New York is priceless. Her curtains $52,000. However, their own article later admitted that the curtains were approved in 2016 and Haley had no say in the matter. This is such a common nonsensical thing that people are quick to, like, I would say I'm surprised New York Times did this, but like New York Times is not the best in terms of, a lot of the stories they put out tend to have like small errors here and there. So there you go, and you jump the gun. Also, New York Times hired an unrepentant racist, so, whatever. Media is still blaming Republicans for the Steele dossier. CNN's Jim Sciutto, MSNBC's Katie Tur, and MSNBC's Ari Melber were all responsible for falsely claiming that Never Trump Republicans were responsible for initial funding of the salacious Steele dossier. Washington Free Beacon founder Paul Singer did pay Fusion GPS for standard opposition research. However, he stopped paying Fusion GPS well before they contracted Christopher Steele to create the dossier. That research was paid for solely by the DNC and the Clinton campaign. This falsehood has been shared so many times that even former FBI Director James Comey has repeated it. And apparently James Comey made some other false statements recently about furlough and the shutdown. Number 6, CNN analyst publishes dubious. Actually, how many stories do they have here? It looks like they might have a bunch. I don't know if we can read through all of them. Whoa, this list is actually really big. We're not going to get through all of it. We're gonna. Wow, it's a huge list. I'll put the link in the description below because we're definitely not going to make it through. I'm going to speed up quite a bit to try and get through these faster. CNN analyst publishes dubious report on additional Kavanaugh allegations. CNN political analyst, Sentinel editor Brian Karem published a report in September claiming that Montgomery County investigators were looking into additional allegation of misconduct against Brett Kavanaugh. Local police disputed that they were investigating any claims. Karem later updated his reporting to indicate his sources were not police. Wrong story. CNN accused Ted Cruz of being afraid to appear on the network. They said he was too scared to come on their programs. Cruz blasted CNN for the falsehood, explaining on Twitter that he had done a 50-minute interview on the network the day prior. How does that happen? CNN spreads false statistic on school shooting. CNN's after a May school shooting in Texas, Jim Sciutto and political correspondent claimed that there had already been 22 shootings in 2018. The list of school shootings included accidental discharges, however, events that don't involve any students, any domestic disputes, hardly the incidents that most people consider to be a shooting. Yep, weasel words. NBC said in information that contradicted Kavanaugh allegations. Yes. Yep. While NBC's story is not incorrect, its choice to sit on evidence that contradicted a serious allegation against Brett Kavanaugh earned them a spot on this list. So they say the second woman actually contradicted the allegations in a phone interview with NBC, and mysteriously, NBC chose not to publish this information until weeks later. Seriously, yeah. McClatchy claims Mueller has evidence that corroborates piece of dossier. However, they say no other news outlet has come forward to confirm McClatchy's reporting, and spokesman for Mueller's team hinted to the Daily Caller News Foundation the report may be false. Jim Acosta said illegal immigrants wouldn't climb border. They say, unfortunately for Acosta, images a week later revealed that immigrants were doing exactly what he claimed they wouldn't. WAPO ran Kavanaugh's story with knowingly false information. They ran a story in October suggesting that Georgetown Prep School was hiring a new employee to deal with the fallout from Kavanaugh hearings. However, the author of the report was informed by a spokesperson that the new position was actually listed well before the Kavanaugh hearings. Andrea Mitchell says disgraced Florida election official is a Republican, when in fact, NBC's Andrea Mitchell baffingly said on air that Snipes is a Republican and hardly a Democratic official, when Brenda Snipes is, yes, a Democrat. WAPO forced to correct Nikki Haley misquote. Misquote. Chris Cuomo shares false story about AR-15 purchase. He spread a false story claiming that a 20-year-old student was able to purchase an AR-15 without going through a background check. The story itself admitted that the student never actually finished filling out the paperwork, which would trigger the background check, nor did he purchase the gun. Why would they publish that? Media claims Trump called the FBI a cancer. The media repeatedly misquoted the president and claimed he called the FBI itself cancer, despite clarification from the two people who interviewed him. All right, we'll speed things up. They say Rachel Maddow accused the White House of editing a Putin tape, but it was actually just an error. CNN's Trump Tower story obliterated by Lanny Davis. CNN reported in July that former Trump attorney Cohen was prepared to tell special counsel Robert Mueller the president had knowledge in advance of a Trump Tower meeting, but he apparently came out and said that wasn't true. But CNN still doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down on its reporting despite a series of issues. Brian Williams bungles hit piece about Trump and dogs. The Daily Caller revealed with the help of quick Google search multiple photos of the president holding dogs. WAPO claims McSally accuses opponent of treason. Apparently that's not true. NPR. Donald Trump Jr. committed perjury. This one was fantastic. It was they just read through the transcription of what Donald Trump Jr. said to Congress without realizing they had pulled the quote out of context, and they were completely wrong. but they still tried to run the story anyway. I have no idea why. NBC News misquoted Senator Cassidy, created a false anti-Trump narrative. Time Magazine's family separation cover featuring crying Honduran child, which it turns out was never actually separated from her family. Reports revealed that in contrast to common left-wing talking points, the mother and her child were not fleeing violence, and the mother had been previously deported from the U.S. In addition, the mother left 3 other children in Honduras and allegedly paid a smuggler to help her and her daughter cross the border illegally. Mike Ryder claims Russian spy was in the Oval Office. This one was fantastic. So this writer, Emily Singer, claimed that a Russian spy was present during an Oval Office meeting. She claimed it was Maria Butina, but it was actually a staffer, Kari Lutkins. Why are you going to look at a photo and that's just ridiculous. Lawrence O'Donnell spreads fake Lindsey Graham quote. I'm just going to have to jump through the rest of these. Jennifer Rubin makes false accusation about GOP's Kavanaugh prosecutor. Media spreads false conspiracy theories about Melania post-surgery. New Yorker publishes Kavanaugh accusation with 0 corroboration. Yep. Daily Beast claims migrants in caravan don't have diseases, when in fact there was chickenpox, tuberculosis, HIV. There's way too many stories. Okay, we're almost done. AP pins immigrant abuse on Trump administration. The AP sneakily admitted in the 20th paragraph that the alleged abuse began in 2016 during the Obama administration. I would have thought. Kavanaugh clerk flashed white power symbol. Oh, this one's ridiculous. This was a woman sitting behind Kavanaugh, and then apparently she actually made the OK symbol, and they still accused her, but in reality she may have just been saying OK to somebody. Her husband said, everyone tweeting this vicious conspiracy theory should be ashamed of themselves. We weren't even familiar with the hateful symbol being attributed to her for the random way she rested her arm during a hearing. Seriously, like her arm was like just sitting there and they accused her of doing it. Media claims Obama didn't separate family at the border. They keep doing this. However, reports from McClatchy and statements from the former Obama administration officials revealed that yes, Obama did separate some families who crossed the border illegally. So, I didn't realize the list was so big, but hey, there you go. Because the list is so big, I'm going to put the link in the description below so that you can go and actually read through all of these. It's really important because, listen, a lot of people, especially on the left, still believe a lot of these stories are true, and some of these stories are still being propagated. Woo! That was an exhausting read through. Thanks for hanging out. Merry Christmas. I'm out. I'm having Chinese food today. Isn't that funny? I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m.